Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mop on a Monday morning. Yes, went a little UTV ride in Black River Falls over the weekend. Be careful driving in southwest Wisconsin today as the misty fog and everything else has rolled in thick here in the Boscobel area along the river. It was really bad. But welcome to the Mop. Oh, back in my day. I have heard that term this weekend over a post that a gentleman made, and this gentleman has done a shit ton. Robert Spencer has done a shit ton for the UTV, ATV world, the power sports world, for trails and fighting for trails here in southwest Wisconsin. Made a post. Saw a post of a gentleman riding on a trail system with a young girl behind him on a four-wheeler. Okay? And helmets are mandatory in most areas, unless you're on private property. But if you're on a trail system, helmets are required for anybody under the age of 18. So on this four-wheeler, there is a girl, I'm guessing 7, 8 years old maybe, wearing a bicycle helmet. There's a kid on the back of the ATV sitting backwards. Okay, so we got 3 people on a single up ATV. There's a state law in Wisconsin that says if you're going to ride 2, you got to be on a 2-up ATV. Safety reasons. Shorter wheelbase on a single. And there's this little kid, I'm guessing 12, 13 maybe younger, probably 12, wearing flip-flops and socks and shorts, sitting backwards on the back rack of this ATV. Bob says, come on, let's use some common sense, be smart. Yeah. Quit being an idiot, basically. And I agree with him wholeheartedly. I think sometimes we forget that riding ATVs, UTVs on these trail systems and things are a privilege. They are not given. We are not, it's my right, so we can. The state funds a lot of this stuff, and yet we disrespect every ounce of it. We were up in Black River this weekend. Those guys have to cut trees or find trees to block off some areas because fucking dipshits, and I'm going to swear on this one because I'm pissed. Dipshits are driving off the trail, making big mud holes, blah, blah, blah. So the trail system has to block off these trails. So Bob's point was, let's just be smart. And people are like, listen here, Karen, back in my day, we rode big red 3-wheelers and we blah, blah, blah. Do you know why they can't sell 3-wheelers in the state? You just can't. Dealers don't sell them. Some of the awesome Honda 250Rs, all that stuff. That was great stuff. But there's a reason that you don't, back in your day, whatever day you're talking about, I remember riding in a trailer behind a big red. And the trailer flipped and whatever, and we all got grass stains and whatever else and bumps and bruises. Yeah, no shit, back in our day. So leave them alone. Why don't you just move on? Well, because he has spent countless hours trying to get to where people can enjoy trail systems. And yes, I know they're on roads, but you can go somewhere. But you're going to see shit start getting shut down. And then you're going to be like, well, you can't do that to us. Yeah, they can. Because you have to remember these trail systems right now close in October because then they become snowmobile trail systems. Well, at some point, they got to fill in all this shit. And you guys don't care. So, and it's proven you don't care because you feel like you can ride as wide open throttle as you want. And then you just say, well, Jesus gripes and people are all pissy and go to a mud bog, go to somewhere else, go find some private property to ride on if that's what you want to do. But we were in Black River over on Saturday, and it was very nice. up until the last 5 miles. The last 5 miles is the reason why I hate going to Black River. And yep, I know I picked a Saturday, and I didn't really pick. I was going to stay home and do a bunch of stuff, but my wife and daughter said, you're going riding. So we went. Had a great time. Trails were good. Plenty enough moisture to keep the dust down for the most part. But the last 5 miles proves why. And I'll get to a couple other stories here too over the weekend. Things will get shut down. And people can say what they want. But if people continue to say back in my day, well, back in somebody else's day, and the guy could say it, back in my day, we didn't have that kind of stuff. We had a horse. Yeah, no shit. Yeah, back in their day, they also had polio. Okay? And we're supposed to be eradicating that stuff. So don't use back in and then just toughen up. Okay? How many people got hurt being dumb and stupid? And then, well, back in my day, so just lighten up. Who cares? Because when the trail system gets closed, you're going to go, well, why'd that happen? Well, because back in your day, you didn't become smart enough to figure out how to change or how to become normal about it. So the last 5 miles in Black River, we come to a sharp corner to the right, and we're in the right. Okay, we're on the right side. You can't get any tighter than what we were. And here comes the first unit, sideways through the corner, going north. It's an ATV. Next behind him is a Razor, UTV, sideways, going north. And then, of course, they don't know how to do hand signals because they're all doing that and trying to figure it out because they're riding so hard they can't get their hand off the handlebar to tell how many people are behind you. See, if you have never rode a UTV or an ATV, or snowmobile for that matter, you hold up how many fingers are behind you. Let's say there was, like for us, there was nobody, so that's that. This one, they had at least 5, and that guy was up there trying to figure out how to do 5 while trying to ride because he's riding that hard, and the guy in the Razor was doing the same thing as he was sideways. Well, we continue to do our corner. It's wide enough for 2 UTVs. However, when you're going as fast as you can, you can't. And then you're in an enclosed cab, so trying to figure out numbers. So the third guy was in a 6-passenger Ranger, trying to keep up with the quad and the Razor. Comes into the corner, sliding into our side, and ends up in a big-ass water puddle because he had to lock him up and end there. And he's like looking at us like we're at fault. And the guy in a Defender behind him almost goes into the back of him because this is how tight they're riding together. And then there's a guy at the very end on an ATV. And they're all trying to figure out how to do hand signals because they're going so fast they can't figure it out. So instead of 5, there are actually 6. So there is no way they could do all of that while they're trying to drive and keep up with everybody else. As they look at us, like, why are you here? Well, we're in the right side, while your leaders were in our side, going balls to the wall. And if you can ride that way, great. As long as you can stay in your lane. Have fun. Do whatever. But what I have found at Black River Falls is you have most people that cannot ride to their level that they think. So they're just going to go all out. And then we also are now traveling in units that are way heavier than an ATV. So we're in a Ranger crew cab that now weighs 3,000 pounds, and you're going as fast as you can go to keep up with everybody else. And then you almost end up in a lane. And we're 5 miles from the nearest road to where anybody could get to you if you needed to for medical attention. So that's the other part that people don't think about is, well, it is what it is back in our day. Yeah, well, how do you get a first responder? How do you get somebody for a bad accident that's in River Falls Black River Falls, 10 miles, 12 miles back on a trail that you can't do like a squad car or anything else. Even if they could drive quick, it's still going to be a wait to get there. But because you feel you're entitled, because I have a Razor that does 80 miles an hour, I should be able to drive at 80 miles an hour, when you're not capable of driving a skateboard, okay? You couldn't drive a bicycle from what I could tell, because you're sideways and crooked and everything else. And I'm not condoning having a good time, but do it smart. But then when Mr. Spencer makes a post about the idiots on a four-wheeler, and then you say, well, back in my day, we rode a big red, and you just need to toughen up. Yeah. See, I would say that he wasn't worried about safety. And then, by the way, if you get stopped with a bicycle helmet on, the DNR is going to tell you that you're not qualified anyway, because a bicycle helmet doesn't qualify as a UTV or ATV helmet. Yeah, it's not approved. Just saying. Know the rules, know where you're going, but you don't want to use common sense, because then it would put you limited on what you got going on. See, that's why I just despise going up there, because of dumbasses. And they don't care. Oh, we're here. It's kind of like snowmobiling. I love going snowmobiling to look at the scenery. And this Saturday, I was the backseat rider in the Terex. I loved it. I could look around, take time. Snowmobiling, I love it too. But everybody seems to have to feel like they are, and if you're riding capable. But unfortunately, I've seen a lot of people get seriously hurt. And at 52, my body doesn't heal up like it used to. At all. But I never did that kind of stupid shit. Maybe because people say, well, maybe you didn't have the balls. No, I think it was that I had common sense and I didn't want to hurt somebody. But if you grew up around it, yeah, you can ride harder than others. I get that. But you have to remember that you're on a trail system with a lot of people that don't have the same abilities. I don't care how good your abilities are. It still comes down to driving. It still comes down to people and their abilities. You could have the greatest abilities in the world. Dale Jr. probably knows how to handle a car better than a lot of people. And he could probably do it out on the regular streets. But that doesn't mean the guy that hits him head on knew anywhere near how to drive, but he thought, hey, I've seen people do this, I'll do this. So, brings me to the next point of Argyle. There's been 2 calls down now in back-to-back days with UTV accidents. Yesterday's, it said the guy had blood coming out of his ears. That's not good. Not good. And then I hear, well, the driver's intoxicated. Interesting. See, again, we will see these things get shut down because they're not necessary. They're not like a highway where you can't just say, okay, we got a bunch of drunk drivers, so we're going to shut the highway down. We're in UTVs and ATVs. It's not a given. It's not a given place to be. We're allowed onto county roads. We're allowed onto gravel, wherever, some logging roads. But if you become morons and you continue to do shit like this, it'll all get shut down. And then you're going to be like, oh, that government's doing overreach, blah, blah, blah. They can't do that. Or, oh, that trail group, what a bunch of losers. And back in our day, we had blah, blah. Yeah, back in your day, there's people that I know personally that could say, well, back in my day, snowmobiles were a 1-cylinder and they went 20 or 30. Yeah. And back in their day, like I said before, they didn't have ATVs or UTVs. There's guys that can say that. The scary statistic about these current, like Argyle accidents and stuff I'm reading, is 60% of them haven't gone through any kind of training whatsoever. See, we make training mandatory for like 12. You got to be 12 and before you can take. Well, when you're 60, people don't make you do that. And in that line of riders yesterday or Saturday in Black River, there were 5 groups or 5 vehicles that were all driven by people that never probably had to have ATV, UTV, or snowmobile training or anything like that. And most of them don't know the trail rules. So they're just going to ride hard and hope for the best. And then they don't know how vehicles work in sand, dirt, water, mud. That when you turn the corner, sometimes it don't turn. And then what? Oh, we lock up the brakes. Yeah, that doesn't work. You know, Tony Stewart, at that accident that he had in his race at the racetrack, because he had to use the throttle to turn the unit, well, sometimes that has to happen. But people tend to automatically lock up the binders, which throws them in a slide. And then they look at you like you're the asshole for being in the trail where you are. So we need to figure this out before we get shut down. And then don't tell Mr. Spencer, oh, by the way, Karen, nice job. You know, wait a bitch, just stick to your own thing. How about you worry about all these guys that have put countless hours into fighting for these trails, into working these trails? Do you think these guys that have worked all these times up by Black River or anywhere else love to see all the deep ruts and everything else on the sides of these trails, off trail, off of anywhere, fucking around? You think they like seeing that shit and then having to drop trees because you stupid sons of bitches can't stay on the trail? You got to go off and blow corners. I mean, I've watched snowmobiles do that numerous times. Well, how'd he get hurt? Well, he blew a corner. Ah! Then you watch the alcohol get involved, and you watch all of this, and people continue to blame somebody else. They don't want to say, well, I was an idiot. And now we've got like this. Now we've got serious UTV accidents. We lost a young lady to a UTV accident down by Argyle over the weekend, or a couple days ago now, 3 days ago. She passed from head trauma. No helmet, no seatbelts the way it sounded. Oh yeah, and we're bypassing seatbelts now because we're smart. We know. Again, you can operate your own UTV and do what you want. And you could be in your own little pace up at Black River, just putzing along looking at everything. And your life can change in a matter of a minute because some dumbass decides that they want to run wide open and that, you're the asshole that's in the wrong spot. I have a right to ride as fast as I want, to go where I want, to do what I want. No, you don't. And it's going to come full circle at this point where we all get shut down because of dumb people that are making mistakes and they're not just simple mistakes. This isn't just toughen up, okay? Blood coming from your ears is not, hey, dude, toughen up, you know? What's the big deal? Or young kids getting thrown from UTVs. Well, just toughen up. Yeah, that doesn't work real well. There's reasons that we have safety things in mind now, and we have things that go along with it. But the problem I have is, see, now, like Polaris built the and then they had to go back to the state and say, hey, by the way, we need, instead of 2,000 pounds, we need 3,000 pounds. Well, now instead of 3,000 pounds, we need to be 3,500 pounds. Well, at some point, it doesn't matter how much they allow. It's going to go back to zero. And then these snowmobile clubs and stuff are going to say, you know what? We're tired of fixing all of your junk before we get allowed. And that's part of the reason why the bike trail didn't open up in Richland Center, because there'd be dumbasses down on people's property, barreling through mud, going off trail. Oh, no, Chris. Yeah, you would. Don't bullshit me. So that's where I'm at today. I just was tired of hearing about Bob get ripped on. He's done a shit ton out of Baraboo to open trails and everything else. But if you want to be dumb and stupid, we are going to get shut down. Our ATV, UTV access will be shut down in a hurry because of people that just don't use common sense. My prayers to everybody that in Argyle yesterday. I'm guessing that one didn't sound good. And of course, everybody says, well, he was in Yep. And again, we're dealing with vehicles that are 3,000 pounds. People not using the appropriate safety devices. People not using just because it's a UTV doesn't make it any better. And that society seems to be okay with drinking and driving. And unfortunately, it's going to be costly. So somebody I'm pretty sure is hurt very bad, if not worse. After I heard, anytime you hear blood coming from ears, not good. But the young lady that lost her life out of Iowa down there the other day, that's 2 serious accidents. And it's not good. So have a great day. Bob Spencer, thank you for all your work. I truly appreciate it. For opening up the ATV, UTV environment. But if you want to ride hard and be a dumbass and do all that and try like you were, not that group, I'd have loved to have been able to get out and yell at them, because I like what I have for machine. I don't need somebody to wreck it for me. I can probably do that on my own. But at 35 mile an hour, 30 mile an hour on the trails, it's probably good enough, but not for you. You want to go sideways. You want to show off your badass to your friends until you wreck something. And then everybody will take their video and laugh and say, oh, ha, ha. Until you hurt somebody seriously. And then you go, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. It was a mistake. I was riding and I lost control. I don't know what happened. Sorry, I hit your unit. And then you're going to be 5 miles, 10 miles off road. That could have been easily the other day. Saturday, you could have easily, somebody would have hit us. Because they came very close. They locked up the binders and ended up in a big mud hole. And at that point, I was wishing it wouldn't start again. That's really where I was at. Because there's no need for it. There's no need to ride like that. So, have a great day. Take time. And yes, I've sold them forever. And I still think about that with snowmobiles and everything else. I knew kids that rode hard. I know guys that can ride hard. But they also ride in the way that they're not going to hurt somebody else except for themselves or one other person in their party. And still getting hurt is not the right answer. So, have a great day. Enjoy today. It's supposed to be in the upper 70s. And I'll be back tomorrow morning with another edition of the MNOP. And, yeah, back in my day. Oh, wait, I didn't have any of that. I had a bicycle. Yeah, my mom only let me have a bicycle. So I wasn't allowed to do any of that. Oh, I had a snowmobile for a while, too, till it blew up. But, back in my day. I love when people say that. It pisses me off. Well, back in they didn't have measles either back in their day. But guess what's coming back? Measles! Yeah, back in their day. So, we sometimes screw up back in our day. So, I'll talk to you tomorrow morning. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in to the MOP. If you're looking for other videos, I've got them all on YouTube as well. So, hopefully you get something out of it today. And we'll look ahead to tomorrow. And as always, take time to bless somebody today.